In the heart of Umudike, a village nestled between lush green hills and flowing rivers, there lived a boy named Zoro. He was the son of Nazi, a woman known for her beauty, kindness, and unparalleled skills in weaving the finest baskets in the village. Zoro's father had been a fisherman, lost to the sea during a terrible storm when Zoro was just a child. Since then, Nazi had raised her son alone, filling his young mind with stories of the sea and the bravery of his father. As a boy, Zoro was curious and eager to learn, always by his mother's side, helping her gather palm fronds and learning the art of basket weaving. Nazi often told him, "Strength comes not from your muscle, but from patience and wisdom." The villagers admired Zoro for his hard work and his devotion to his mother, but as he grew older, he became restless. By the time Zoro reached his teenage years, his heart burned with dreams beyond the quiet life of weaving baskets. He envied the warriors of the village, their strength and the respect they commanded. He wanted to be like them, to be feared and admired. His mother's words of patience seemed weak to him, and the life of a humble basket weaver felt like a cage. One evening, after a village feast, Zoro made a decision. He stood before the elders and declared that he would become a warrior, not a basket weaver like his mother. The villagers were shocked, and his mother's heart ached, but she said nothing. Zoro saw her silence as a sign of weakness, and his resentment grew. The next day, Zoro left the village to train with the warriors in the nearby forest. He pushed himself harder than anyone else, determined to prove his strength. He became fierce in combat, but his spirit grew dark with each victory. Soon, the other warriors began to fear Zoro, not because of his skill, but because of the anger that fueled him. One fateful night, as Zoro trained alone in the deep forest, a stranger appeared. It was a tall man, cloaked in shadows, with eyes that glowed like embers. The man introduced himself as Chaga, an old warrior who had once been the strongest in the land. His voice was smooth, like sleek sliding over stone, and his words were filled with promises. "You seek power, don't you, Zoro?" Chaga asked, his eyes gleaming. "I can give you strength like no other. With it, you will be the greatest warrior your village has ever seen. But this power comes with a price." Zoro, driven by his thirst for greatness, didn't hesitate. He agreed to Chaga's offer, believing that no price was too high for the strength he desired. The old warrior handed Zoro a strange glowing stone, instructing him to carry it with him at all times. "This stone will grant you power, but be aware," Chaga warned, "for it will also awaken a hunger that you may find impossible to satisfy." At first, Zoro felt invincible. His strength grew with each passing day. He could defeat any warrior, no matter their skills or size. The villagers spoke of him in harsh tone, both in awe and fear. But as Chaga had warned, with the power come an insatiable hunger, a hunger not for food, but for something deeper, something darker. The hunger gnawed at Zoro, growing stronger each day. He tried to ignore it, but soon it became unbearable. No matter how many battles he won or how many enemies he defeated, the hunger remained, a constant agonizing presence. As he returned to the village, weak and exhausted, the realization struck him. The only way to satiate the hunger was to take the life of the one who loved him the most, his mother. Torn between his love for Nazi and the unbearable hunger inside him, Zoro became distant, avoiding his mother's gaze and keeping to himself. Nazi, wise as ever, noticed the change in her son. Though she did not understand what troubled him, she knew the gods were involved, and so she prayed. One evening, unable to resist the hunger anymore, Zoro returned home. Nazi greeted him with her usual warmth, preparing his favorite meal, but Zoro barely spoke. His hand trembled as he watched her move about the kitchen, the hunger twisting inside him like a snake ready to strike. That night, as they sat to eat, the hunger reached its peak. Zoro's heart raced as he fought against the darkness inside him, but he was losing. His hand clenched into fist, and his breath came in shadow gasps. Nazi, seeing the torment in her son's eyes, spoke softly, "My son, what burden do you carry?" Before Zoro could respond, the hunger overtook him. With a roar of anguish, he longed at his mother, his senses clouded by the cursed power. Nazi did not fight back. She embraced her son, her eyes filled with sorrow and love, whispering, "I forgive you, my child." The weight of his mother's forgiveness crashed down on Zoro as he realized what he had done. Nazi lay lifeless on the floor, a final breath, a soft whisper of love. The hunger that had driven him to such a terrible act suddenly seemed insignificant compared to the overwhelming guilt that now consumed him. The village, sensing something was wrong, gathered outside Zoro's house. The horrifying sight of Nazi's lifeless body and the anguished cries of Zoro echoed through the night. The villagers, stunned and horrified, began to understand the true extent of Zoro's suffering and the curse that had corrupted his soul. They knew that something dark and powerful had taken hold of him, but the specific remains a mystery. Zoro, now fully aware of the gravity of his actions, was overcome with remorse. He wandered through the village in a daze. His once formidable strength was now burdened. His mind, once sharp and focused, was clouded with despair and self-loathing. The villagers, once fearful of him, now saw only a broken man mourning the loss of his mother and the life he had ruined. In his grief, Zoro sought out Chaga, hoping for redemption or an escape from the unending agony. He journeyed back into the forest, finding the old warrior where he had first met him. Chaga, with his eyes still glowing with a sinister light, greeted Zoro with a cold smile. "You come for something more, don't you?" Chaga asked, his voice dripping with mockery. "You thought power could bring you fulfillment, but all it brought was destruction. What will you offer to undo the curse that binds you?" Zoro, his spirit broken and his heart heavy, begged Chaga for mercy, promising to do anything if only the hunger and the guilt could be lifted. Chaga's laughter echoed through the forest, the cruel sound that seemed to resonate with the pain Zoro felt. "Very well," Chaga said finally. "There is a way to lift the curse, but it requires a sacrifice even greater than before. You must leave the village and wander until you find true understanding of what you have lost. Only then will the curse be lifted. But know this, your journey will be long and filled with trials. You will never return to the life you once knew. With no other choice, Zoro set out on a journey across the land, leaving behind the village and everything he had once valued. His path was filled with hardship and trials that tested both his strength and spirit. He encountered people in need, faced treacherous landscapes, and battled his inner demons, all while searching for redemption. Throughout his journey, Zoro came to understand the true meaning of his mother's words and the value of patience and wisdom. He learned that strength was not just about physical powers, but also the ability to overcome one's own faults and seek forgiveness. In the end, after many years of wandering and suffering, Zoro found a place of peace and solitude. He built a modest home and lived a humble life, helping those in need and sharing the lessons he had learned. The curse that had once bound him was finally lifted, not through the power of the stone or the intervention of Chaga, but through his own journey of redemption and understanding. True strength lies not in power or dominion, but in the ability to confront one's own mistakes, seek forgiveness and grow from them. Zoro's stories serve as a reminder that the pursuit of greatness at the cost of love and integrity only leads to destruction. True fulfillment comes from humility, compassion, and the courage to make amends. Thank you for staying till the end of the story. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more epic tales like this. See you in our next story. Bye-bye.